Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us on this webinar on how to catch phishing and malware attacks that Office 365 misses. We are joined by Don Byrne, VP of Sales, and Chris Isbrecht, Director of Cloud Security Infrastructure. You'll notice in the sidebar, you have the ability to ask questions. If you ask them during the event, we will finish the presentation and then answer them at the end. So thank you for joining. Don?
Cool. Thanks, Michael. Appreciate it. Hi, everyone. Don Byrne here with Avanan, and really appreciate you taking the time to hear what we have to say today and obviously see what we do. I want to try to make this interactive as much as possible for a webinar and want you guys to all get value out of it. So please, as Michael said, please feel free to ask questions along the way, and we'll do whatever we can to answer any and all of them, either throughout the broadcast or towards the end. So great. With that, let's go ahead and get into it. Talk about who we are. For those of you who don't know, only know us by name, where we came from. Our goal when the company was founded about 4 years ago was to provide a single sort of pane of glass, one view across all cloud-based applications. So as you move to the cloud, there are security gaps with any cloud application. And those gaps may be things like malware, going back and forth between the cloud apps. It might be phishing attacks. It might be leakage of sensitive information. So whatever those gaps are, our goal was really provide a single pane of glass across all those cloud-based applications and give you the ability to fill those gaps using security from best-of-breed vendors. And we want to provide that all on a single pane of glass, a single console where you can quickly and easily provide those capabilities. What we've done and how we've actually implemented that is that we've partnered with 60+ security vendors. And when I say partner, we've actually run their technology in our cloud environment. So you're using a cloud-based application. We're taking best-of-breed vendors. We're running them in our cloud environment. We're connecting the two up, and literally within 15 minutes, we can get you up and running to help fill those security gaps with your cloud applications using any number of vendors that we currently support. Again, this is specific to O365, and so, let's talk a little bit about those challenges. Let's focus on that. Cloud is a very broad topic, so for this session, we'll focus mainly on O365 and kind of what we're seeing within that environment. The biggest challenge that we hear about day in and day out is the problem with phishing. People getting hit with phishing attacks. They're in O365 and they got emails that come in, look like they're coming from the CFO or the CEO, or links that lead users to credential harvesting websites. What we're finding is that although Microsoft does a relatively good job at keeping those malicious emails out of your inbox, they're falling down in the way of they're missing some percentage of attacks, right? And those attacks are leading to compromised O365 accounts. And we hear about these occurring on a daily basis. Hey, we just got breached. Someone sent us a phishing email. They clicked on the link. They entered in their O365 credentials because it looked like a OneDrive share. Now the hacker got a hold of that person's account and sent out a bunch of phishing emails from that account to other people, essentially using their O365 account as a weapon. So the people that we're talking to that are using O365 really want to get a handle on this. This is our number one priority, and people say we want some enhanced security. We don't want to rip and replace what Microsoft's doing, but we want to improve. We want to fix some of the gaps that are already there today. So those are the challenges. Now, in terms of addressing those challenges, we'll talk about two alternatives, right? And then I'll tell you a little bit about Avanan. So one of the alternatives that everyone, generally when they're in O365, they talk about is ATP, Microsoft ATP. It's an add-on. You can buy it as a separate add-on, $2 per user per month, or it comes with an E5 license. But people that have used ATP, know firsthand that it's still not enough. They're still missing quite a bit of phishing attacks, and it's just providing a false sense of security. And they're missing a lot of capabilities, a lot of features, specifically around reporting. And the other problem is myopic. It's specific to O365. It doesn't provide that ability to extend security to other cloud-based applications. And, a quote from one of our customers who was actually using ATP, ATP just didn't compare to what Avanan was catching, couldn't compare to the amount of phishing attacks caught by Avanan. And that's a very easy thing for us to prove. As you see when we talk about the trial, very easy for us to tell you all the things that Microsoft has missed and what we would have blocked. So first alternative is ATP, right? And let's go to the second one. The second one is, an MTA-based solution. MTA is basically, think of like a Proofpoint or a Mimecast or something along those lines. When email was on-prem, you would stick one of these servers in front of your on-prem email server, and all emails would go through that proxy, get scanned by that proxy, and if it was clean, it went on to your on-prem email exchange server. Things have changed quite a bit. Securing on-prem email is much different than securing cloud-based email. In specific, your O365 contains existing security features. So when you go to O365 with ATP or without, you get existing security features that come with Microsoft. Unfortunately, when you put an MTA in front of that, it breaks those security features. So it's essentially a rip and replace. And the other thing is, these MTA solutions are not built for cloud, right? They don't leverage the APIs, and that's a huge deal because in order to really make, take full advantage of things like O365, you got to leverage the APIs. And the other thing is that MTA-based solutions, email security solution, that's just it. They're limited to just email. Where our solution, what we're providing is full O365 and cloud-based security. So we extend to SharePoint and OneDrive, right? And the number one thing that people want when they move to O365 with our customers is we want a layered approach. We don't want to break what Microsoft is already doing. So in terms of what we're doing, what are we doing, right? We're using the APIs that Microsoft has offered, and that's really setting a new standard for how to secure cloud-based email. We consider this to be a layered approach to security, the email security, right? We're layering in additional. We got the Microsoft doing its scans, and that's kind of getting back to the theme of this session is catching things that Microsoft misses, right? Microsoft does the initial scan, and how we're deployed and how we're implemented within O365. Our scans take place after Microsoft has done its scan, right? So our algorithms are trained to look for the things that Microsoft misses, right? And we catch, you'll see when we do a trial, very easy to start a trial with Avanan. It takes 5 minutes to set up. We'll go back and retroactively scan everything in your users' inboxes. We'll tell you all the phishing attacks and all the malware attacks that are sitting there. And the other thing, again, the APIs not only do we sit in a different place within the architecture, where we're able to leverage Microsoft security, but we're able to provide other capabilities that are not available with MTA-based solutions. Compromised account monitoring is a perfect one. We can tell you who's logging in from where, if an account is compromised. So we have a great capability there. So layered approach is really an important thing there. The second thing that you'll see when Chris goes through the demo, and even if you talk about doing a trial with us, it's literally the fastest to deploy and the most comprehensive anti-phishing solution for O365. And we let the product prove itself. There's no MTA updates. You don't need to change the MX records. And it's completely transparent to the end user. Your end users will have no idea we're even there. And again, we let the product speak for itself. In terms of how we do it, again, I talked about the layered approach and again, we're focused on catching the things that Microsoft misses. It helps to really explain how we're doing this, right? So from where we sit, we're connected into O365 via the APIs. Again, so mail's not routing through us. We're not monitoring traffic. We're connected into the O365 or all the cloud-based applications we support via the APIs. And what happens is when an email comes into O365, Microsoft will go ahead and scan. That email, right? So Microsoft will do the scan, and then what we'll do is we actually intercept the email after Microsoft has done the scan, and we hold that email. We prevent that email from going into the user's inbox. And why do we do that? Obviously, we don't want we don't want the user to open up an email that could potentially be malicious, right? So what we do, we hold that email from being delivered. We inspect it. We verify if it's clean. If it is, we'll deliver it into the user's inbox. And if it's malicious, we actually have a phenomenal workflow that quarantines that email, so that email never gets to the user's inbox, and also provides a way to notify the system administrators and the users. Hey, we just quarantined an email, right? So we got a great workflow, and a lot of people say, look, your workflow is like 10 times better than what Microsoft is offering with their workflow. So again, to kind of, full circle here, again, it's a layered approach to security, right? It starts there at the top with the default O365 security, right? Everything we do is after Microsoft's already done a scan, right? And then we layer in advanced phishing capability. So we developed our own algorithms for detecting phishing attacks, some of the most complex phishing attacks, spoof attacks, links pointing to credential harvesting websites. So we add in that technology. We add in the ability to do actual sandboxing within files. So if you get an email that contains an attachment, we actually have the ability to scan that with a malware sandboxing solution, whether it be a LastLine or a FireEye or a Checkpoint. We have the ability to plug those in right there with the click of a button. We layer in DLP technology. A lot of people in like healthcare or other industries where they're, compliance regulations. We have the ability to monitor who's sharing what with whom. Is sensitive information being shared by way of the cloud application? Is someone trying to send a file that contains PII, PHI outside the organization? Right, so we layer in DLP, and then the account takeover protection. That's a very useful feature. So the ability to flag things, strange logins from Nigeria. You got a login that occurs in Europe, and then 2 minutes later, a login occurring from San Francisco. We call that a Superman login, right? You can only be Superman to do that. We have the ability to detect and notify on suspicious activity like that. Again, that's a very unique feature because of the APIs, right? We leverage the APIs to pull that event information out of O365. We provide shadow IT capability as well, where we can now tell you who's actually using what cloud applications that you may not know about. A great feature there. And then, of course, the ability to pull all that data we're collecting and everything we're identifying and pull that into your SIM. So again, this isn't just, I spent a ton of time talking about email and how we secure email, but remember, we're a cloud security platform. So our technology, our capability extends to things like SharePoint and OneDrive, right? The ability to ensure that people aren't sharing things they shouldn't be outside the organization, or, God forbid someone uploads some malware into OneDrive, right, and then shares that with someone internally. That's where the Avanan platform comes into play. But again, it's not just O365 either. We extend to all your other cloud-based applications. So it is really a full cloud security platform. Great. I'm going to go ahead and stop right there, and I'm going to transition to Chris, who will go ahead and get into the demo.
All right, thanks, Don. So in the 15 minutes that it took Don to go through the slides, we could literally have a full enterprise class cloud security solution in place for you to stop these phishing attacks in their tracks. This is a cloud-based platform. It's supposed to be easy. I'm going to run you through the demonstration now and show you how we're the fastest to deploy, easiest to configure, and really the most comprehensive anti-phishing solution for Office 365 or for Google Mail at this point. From an architecture standpoint, we're an on-demand cloud-based service. We're hosted within AWS. We've got 2 quick start guides to get you up and running within the platform. Like Don mentioned, the API approach really allows us to move very quickly to get customers onboarded. Our onboarding, whether it's 10 users, 100, 1,000, 100,000 seats, is the same process and really allows us to move very quickly to give you visibility into your SaaS platforms, as well as to automatically lock down and protect users from phishing and malware attacks that might be coming in. To give you a quick idea on what it looks like to set up our solution, we've got 2 workflows. The first one is to plug into your existing SaaS solutions. Today we're focusing on email from an Office 365 standpoint, but this solution is really the same regardless of the SaaS platform that we plug into. With the API approach, the only requirement that we have of our solution is that you've got access to your global or super admin account for the SaaS solution. There's a quick authorization via OAuth that's done that gives us that complete visibility into the Microsoft or Google platforms. Once you accept the permissions here, we're able to see all events that take place. So everything from your logins to emails, attachments, files that might be shared within the system. So it gives us a very comprehensive continual visibility mechanism into the SaaS platform, where we're then able to layer on things like automated policies. We're able to delay delivery of mail and give you the same appearance as an MTA or a proxy-based solution, but much more effectively and efficiently done via that API. Some things that we don't do with our solution: we're not changing your MX record in any way. There's no proxy that gets installed, no appliance, no hardware or software to configure. So essentially, once you hit this accept button here, that's our continual visibility into the cloud with really nothing else to do from a configuration standpoint. This is not a 30, 60, 90-day project to implement cloud security and anti-phishing support. This is literally a couple-minute workflow to get you up and running to gain that visibility. The second step here would be to decide what types of security tools we're going to leverage to secure that data that sits in the cloud. You'll see over 60 different products here from best-of-breed vendors like the Checkpoints, the FireEyes, the Palo Altos of the world. Specifically today, we're focusing on the anti-phishing protection. The anti-phishing piece is an AI algorithm that has been developed within Avanan. Just to give you a little bit more background on what that program looks like. It's a 2-phased approach that we take. So we've got our first line of defense is the anti-phishing solution itself. We analyze over 300 different indicators to look for phishing attempts that are coming in, whether they're impersonation or spoofing, credential harvest type attacks that are coming in. So we're able to scan these mails prior to delivery. A bunch of best-of-breed technologies behind the scenes here. We're doing everything from analyzing your SPF records, the DMARC, DKIM. We're running natural language processing on the body of the mail to look for words and phrases that are consistent with phishing attacks. We're doing URL reputation and detonation of links within the program. We've also got an extraction process for links that are embedded within attachments that come in. So it really gives you a very comprehensive solution for us to scan and stop phishing attacks from getting in. The second half of our program is the ability to look for compromised accounts by monitoring at the mailbox level to look for any changes that could indicate a compromised account, things like auto forwarding, auto deletes, emails being moved to subfolders. We're also looking at geo-suspicious information, so logins from new countries, from hotspots like Nigeria, cross-platform logins. So if we see email picked up from a certain country, and then OneDrive or SharePoint logins from locations that are physically impossible to move between. So lots of intelligence built in here. Frontline defense with the anti-phishing, and then the ability for us to monitor for compromised accounts, whether they come through email, through a web browser, or through various other sources. You've got that comprehensive solution to make sure that the users are not being compromised and giving up credentials and things that would be a lot worse on the corporate network. Okay, so that's the setup. Just to confirm all of the options that are selected during the setup process, you'll see our security stack. This will focus on anything that's been enabled. With the over 60 different products, you're able to build out that defense in-depth strategy, whether it's for malware, data leak prevention, the anti-phishing solution. Once the setup is done, we start our initial scan period. With the scan period, we can go backwards with the API to do historical scans. We would also start real-time scanning going forward. So part of our typical trial, we do a 14-day guided trial. You'll get about 30 days worth of historical and real-time data going forward through that process. It takes typically between 24 and 48 hours for us to finish that initial scan period and then move into a complete real-time scanning going forward. From there, what we like to do is walk through the policy options. So out of the box, we're going to give you visibility into everything that happens in the SaaS, and then really the end goal here is to provide automated policy to stop threats from reaching the end user. We've got a couple of different protection modes here, but essentially the most secure would be our protect in line mode. This will scan email before it's delivered to the user's inbox and give us the opportunity to quarantine or send user notifications before that mail actually reaches the user. Policies are group-based, so you set the scope of who's going to be protected by the rules. And then under the advanced tab here, you're going to be able to set the different workflows. So do we want to automatically quarantine? Is there a false positive workflow? Are there additional notifications that go to the user? You've also got the ability for any user level notifications to customize what the end user sees if they see anything through the process. All of our notifications are embedded in the body of the email. So you've got a very consistent mechanism here from a user notification standpoint. The notifications are the same regardless of the endpoint. So whether you've got smartphones, tablets, laptops, it's a very consistent mechanism for us to notify. There's no browser plugins or Outlook plugins that need to run. So a very efficient mechanism if you do decide to use end user notifications. And then a whole series of capabilities here for administrative alerts. We can feed your existing SIM solutions. We can kick off alerts and alarms through our dashboard. Could also send emails from a notification standpoint. So that's the entire process to onboard as a customer into our solution. Once we start to receive alerts and events into the system, you'll see in the main dashboard really an event-driven approach. So as your phishing attacks come in and get automatically quarantined, you'll see them move into to the total bucket. For anything that's in a visibility mode, you would see as a pending event. I'll give you just a real quick idea what the events are going to look like. And ultimately here, the goal of our solution is to completely replace any interface that you have today with Microsoft. We're going to show you the high-level overview of the email profile. You've got direct access to things like the email headers. You can download the body of the email on demand for inspection. For things that get caught as a phishing attack, you'll also see all the different indicators here. So out of the 300 different indicators, as we start to see issues, the AI will draw conclusions based on the patterns that we see and then classify this as a phishing attack a suspicious attack, spam or marketing from a workflow standpoint. So the ability, again, to set automated policies here. Ultimately, the user should never see these emails. They shouldn't have to make the decision, do I trust the user? Do I open the mail? Do I click on a link? Do I give up my credentials to that link? So completely automated process here to make sure that these malicious emails do not reach the end user. We also have some built-in mechanisms here to be able to interface with our security team. So if we see things like false positives, false negatives, if the customer needs help with investigation, forensics, this is an automated built-in ticketing system directly to our SOC for any questions or assistance that would be needed from an investigation standpoint. Okay, so that's the phishing piece.
Hey Chris, sorry, we had a question here, and since you're on that screen, I thought it'd be good to talk about it. Is there a release for false positives, and can it be selected for different users so one can choose who is allowed to make the releases?
Absolutely. So there's a full dashboard for whitelisting and for setting exceptions to the rule. For things that do get quarantined, you've got an option here to set up those whitelists. We've also got controls that would allow you to specify who can release from an administrative standpoint, and that's all set up during the policy period. We also have options for end user releases, as well as building workflows for validation, so the user can present their case on why the email should be returned, and then there's an administrative workflow to be able to release. So a couple of different mechanisms there. If we do see false positives, which are rare, we can fix that with the algorithm, and then individual releases based on the user.
And then as part of the trial, we generally walk through all that entire process.
Absolutely. So during our trial process, it's full production. You'd be able to test the quarantine, the release process, and the overall platform. Okay, great. So that's the phishing detection. Also wanted to give a quick anomaly example here. So in the Anomaly Dashboard, this is where compromised accounts would typically be picked up. So if we just focus on email, you're going to see all the mechanisms that I talked about. So everything from emails that are being forwarded, deleted, subfolders being created. We'll see alerts for bulk outbound mails that are being sent, whether they're spam attacks or phishing attacks from compromised accounts. From here, we've got the ability to kick off workflows to reset passcodes, deactivate accounts based on this either geo-suspicious activity or activity that takes place at the mailbox level. Okay. From here, what we typically drill into some of the analytic capabilities. So just wanted to show you high-level reporting capabilities for each SaaS platform that we have set up. You'll see high-level overviews, your security stack, incoming, outgoing mail. These info boxes can all be customized with either custom reports or with other pre-defined quarantines and reports that are set up. So the ability to customize throughout the platform. We also have a custom query capability. This capability really allows us to replace your PowerShell scripting capabilities. So if anybody on the line has done investigative work to search for emails, do quarantines, very lengthy and complicated process. In our portal, we would show any recent emails and then be able to go through and search, sort, filter directly in the query itself. We've got the ability to search on subject, sender, recipient. If we want to look for certain subject line or contents of a subject, we can do the quick searches here. We can correlate any of the security events. We can bring in additional information here from the security stack. Could also take manual actions if we wanted to quarantine and remove these mails. If you wanted an automated process, anytime something hits the query, we can automatically do that. This is really helpful. We have a lot of customers ask, how do I go backwards in time, pull things out of mailboxes? This would be the mechanism to be able to do that. We have a lot of disgruntled employees that leave. They send an all-staff email. This would be the mechanism to go and find it and pull it out of the mailbox and do those automated quarantines. So really the goal of the solution is to be able to provide all of your cloud-based security needs. It's a single dashboard, single pane of glass to be able to protect users and make sure that we're not seeing compromised accounts from inbound phishing attacks.
Great, thanks, Chris. And so, Don, do you want to do a little follow-up before we go to questions?
Yeah, you bet. Let's go ahead and go through the trial process here. And if I could share my screen now, we'll take it back. Perfect. All right, so we have if you're interested in a trial, like we said, it's no risk, and it's pretty easy to set up, totally transparent to your end users, and we don't disrupt the mail flow, change MX records, so it's very easy to set up. It takes 5 minutes, and generally what we do when we do a trial is we go through a 14-day trial process where the goal is to get you familiar with the entire solution. It's probably a total of, at most a couple hours during 2 weeks, and you're pretty well acclimated at that point. We'll walk you through the process of getting it connected. That's day 1. Day 3, we come back, and because what we do is when we connect, we actually do a retroactive scan, go back and scan all your emails, everything in OneDrive and SharePoint to flag all the files, all the emails that may contain malware or may be flagged as phishing. So we'll come back, we'll do the initial review of that with you, and then we'll go through kind of some acclimation training. How do you create a query? How do you move people to prevent mode so we can actually prevent those phishing attacks from getting in there? And then we do a couple more sessions, wrap it up on day 14. And at that point, generally everyone's got a pretty good feel for what we do and how we interact, how we can unquarantine things, take things out of quarantine, how we notify and do alerts. So real good idea of the workflow at that point. Cool. And then always a question that comes up is in terms of pricing. How do you price out? This is on our website, and but I took a screenshot of it here. We have what we call our packaged solutions, which are, the first 3 on the left there. So the basic package is for email security for G Suite or O365. If you just want phishing, it's $250 per user per month for that. If you want to add on top of that malware sandboxing, so any email attachment that comes in goes against a sandbox scan, we do that. You can add DLP, that'll take you to $5 per user per month. And then of course we got our a la carte pricing as well. And a la carte is basically the ability to mix and match the different technologies. Maybe you want OneDrive, maybe you want SharePoint, maybe you want to extend it to Box or Dropbox, or we have the ability to do that as well. Of course, we have enterprise pricing available as well. We got some of our larger, accounts are thousands and thousands of users. So of course we got pricing for that. And then .edu as well. .edu is unique in that, they've got, they kind of split this, they got the staff accounts for a certain percentage of the overall O365 users, and then students and alumni that counts for a separate set of users as well. So we have pricing models that meet those requirements. Cool. Any questions at this point? Michael, did we get any questions that come in? Maybe now's a good time to answer those. Cool.
Yeah, in fact, one of the questions is about pricing. I noticed your bundles are for Office 365 and Google. And what do you have for, in this case, ShareFile, but I guess, what do you have for other SaaS?
Yeah, exactly. So that's a per user per price there as well. that would be under the a la carte model. So what we generally do is say, okay, you want share file, and what are the concerns you have with share file? A lot of times it's DLP. They want to, make sure sensitive information being shared outside of share file. They want to control that. They want to prevent that. Or they want malware sandboxing or scanning. So we, generally we have a discussion around that, but absolutely we have pricing for that model.
Great. And so I guess here's a couple of technical questions for you, Chris. Which of the vendors are you using for anti-phishing?
Thanks, Michael. So from a phishing standpoint, we've written our own AI to go out and look at the 300 plus indicators from an email. We do integrate some providers under the covers for things like URL reputation, but the core of the algorithm has been developed in-house by Avanan. When we went out about 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago, to find best of breed solutions to embed, we integrated over a dozen different solutions and found out very quickly that there wasn't a silver bullet in the phishing space like there was on the malware side, where we could simply integrate a best of breed product. So we went out, built our own algorithm to look at all the different indicators in an email, and then came up with our own branded smart search capability. So that would be an in-house Avanan product.
Great. And then another question. I already have Proofpoint. Can I add this as an extra layer, or do I need to replace it?
Yeah, and I saw a couple of questions that came in around MX records and the difference between the MTA or the proxy in our solution. The really nice part about our solution, since we are API driven, we can sit behind either the Microsoft security or if you've got the Proofpoints, the Mimecasts of the world out in front, we're able to scan email just prior to delivery. We're not bypassing a Microsoft security or the other vendors, so we could certainly be another layer of defense and either complement those solutions or completely replace them.
Great, great. So we do have a few more questions, but they are specific, so we will answer those for you after the webinar. So I think we've covered what we wanted to in the half hour. We've covered the questions that you had on the call. So we thank everyone for joining. And thank you, Chris, for giving the technical overview. And Don, thank you very much.
Yep, thanks everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Take care.